I used to be that person. The one that always takes way too much camera gear on a trip. Take a look at this. I would take a massive, heavy SLR camera. This alone hurts my back just thinking about it. Large lenses, just in case I need a different focal length. You know, a GoPro, just in case, you know, I need an action camera. Even though where I'm going, I'm not doing any action. Multiple tripods and extra batteries. The list goes on. It's way too many things, and I finally realized that. So I'm ditching this heavy gear, and I'm gonna downsize to a simple setup for my next trip. So I finally decided to simplify. On our next trip to Japan, I am challenging myself to simplify and only take what's necessary when it comes to my camera gear. On way too many trips, I come back and realized I never touched half of this stuff that I would often take with me. So after much deliberation, here is what I'm gonna take on the next trip. First, let's start with the bag. This here is the Peak Design Everyday Sling 3 liter. It's the smallest sling bag that they offer, and you know, it's not huge. So it's gonna be a bit of a challenge to get everything in here, but I definitely think doing so is gonna simplify my travel. I've went through all of my gear, and I think I've narrowed it down to 3 main items. Number 1 is the Sony a6700. This camera here, which actually doesn't have the lens. That's gonna be the first thing. And I'm actually using it on this camera here. So give me 1 second. All right, this here is the Sony 15mm f1.4. This is without a doubt my favorite lens. It's my favorite lens because it's so small and lightweight, but takes amazing photos. And combined with the a6700, this is probably as small and lightweight as I'm gonna get from this high-end camera. I did have a tough decision to make between this lens, the 15mm, and my Sony 18-105. This one would give me more versatility when traveling because you have both an 18mm at its widest and 105mm to zoom in on faraway subjects. But it does have an f4 aperture, which isn't as great in low light conditions. The wider 15mm lens is definitely going to come in more handy when we're filming video, like of ourselves when we're vlogging. That wider shot definitely captures both Marissa and I. And then also, there's going to be a lot of landscapes to take pictures of and get all of that stuff in the subject. So having that little bit extra width is definitely going to come in handy. While it's definitely going to be a challenge not having a zoom lens on the camera, I think I'm up for the challenge. All right, now that we've talked about the main camera and lens, let's first pop this lens back on. All right, there we go, that's better. Item number 2. And this one makes it pretty easy to downsize because it's so tiny. This is the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. I did a whole video on this little camera, which I'll link above. But to sum up, this little camera here is gonna be probably our dedicated video camera while out and about, purely because it's so small. This one's just gonna be really handy to throw in the bag, pull it out at a moment's notice, and start filming. Honestly, Marissa might have this a lot of the time in her purse while we're traveling around, and I'll have the bigger camera. It's just, we'll have that versatility there for both of us to capture video, and then I can also take photos if necessary with the bigger camera. But yeah, this one is a no-brainer. It's such a tiny camera that can be used in almost any situation, and I'm really excited to have this as probably the main video camera on our trip. The third and final item is this right here. This is the charging case for the DJI Mic 2 and receiver. So you can see here, this little charging case has 2 mics, that's these ones right here, and then the receiver in the middle. So with this charging case, you just open it up, pull out the mic, attach it to your shirt, your bag, whatever it may be, and we're gonna get crisp, clear audio and some noise canceling as well, which is going to be really handy on the streets of Tokyo where it can get a little noisy. So these little mics are going to be lifesavers. And then we do have this receiver. Whoops. We do have this little receiver here, which this can plug into the A6700. So you can just plug it in kind of like this. You put it on there, you attach it to your microphone, and then that will give us the same microphones will work on this camera, and then we can swap it over to the Osmo Pocket 3. So we can swap as we go depending on what camera we're using. So that's going to be really handy. And then, you know, out and about, the batteries might die. So this little case here, you just like close it up, pop it back in the bag, and that's going to keep the microphones charged when we're not using them. So they're always ready to go when we pull them out. So there we have it. These 3 items. So that's it. That's the 3 items there with the lens, of course. But they're the 3 things they're going to throw in the bag. Obviously, also a few extra things like a couple spare batteries and some memory cards, which I keep here. I definitely recommend having multiple memory cards on your trip. One thing I do have to factor in for these 2 combination is I need a full-size SD card for the Sony, and then need a micro SD card for the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. So need both, like multiple cards in both formats, just so we have backups and then a backup for the backups. So there you have it. That is my simplified camera gear setup. That's what's gonna go into my bag on the next trip, and I'll let you know how it goes. And if I'm happy with the decision, if I feel like I missed something, we'll quickly find out. As I mentioned, very soon we are headed to Japan. So we're gonna go to Tokyo, Kyoto, and Osaka. So definitely hit that subscribe button below so you can stay up to date on our adventure. What do you have in your camera bag? Put them in the comments below. I'd love to hear. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.